So, okay, here we go. Boom. All right, I got Instagram going too. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. All right, here we go. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of Fair Faithful Podcast. I'm Brandon Ferniel. Joined by me is my co-host Peter Lucas from Niner Fanatic Podcast. How are you doing, man?
What's going on, brother? Another day in the life. Another day of 49er football. Even when it's not on, it's on. And yeah, I'm ready to get it in.
Yes, sir. Let's get right into it, man. If you guys haven't yet already, please go over to both YouTube channels, Fair Faithful Podcast and Niner Fanatic Podcast. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. We really appreciate you guys doing that. It helps with the algorithm. Let's get right into it, man. So, well, since we've been last on with Beth, though, which she might be joining us tonight, it's up in the air, but we've hired a new, yeah, right. We've hired a new DC, and also hired kind of like an assistant head coach type thing, and Brandon Staley. But our new DC is Nick Swarson. What are your thoughts on that, and how'd you feel when that news came out?
Honestly, I tweeted it out as soon as I woke up that morning and I saw the news because they released it like super early in the morning, like at least, and it was early on the East Coast. So, but yeah, I just thought of it as in the beginning. I was just like, oh, okay, so he decided to do both. but then I had my coffee and had a chance to think about it, and it just, and I don't know about you, Brandon, but I look at this as another example of Kyle kind of wanting his cake and eating it too. He promotes Nick Sorensen to have continuity, promoting from within, and like to basically go back to his roots of like the guys that have already been here and know the system, all that. But then he wants to bring in Brandon Staley to bring in to sprinkle in the disguising of the defense and like that kind of stuff. And we're hoping that he has Kyle's ear in certain situations. But I can't help but think that this was a way to bring in a Brandon Staley, like just to kind of help with the defense. But it's almost like he's not taking ownership that we needed any help on the offense. And and that kind of bothered me. I'm going to be honest with you, because I thought at times last year it wasn't the defense that we were struggling. Yes, could they have been better in certain situations? Absolutely. But the reality is there was a lot of times when our offense just stalled and our offense looked kind of predictable. So I thought that was a golden opportunity for him to bring in somebody from the outside that could kind of get in his ear and that had the clout to be able to change his mind on a few things. And he didn't take it. So it is what it is. It's still probably going to work out. And like, they're still probably going to go really far in the playoffs. I was just a little disappointed by the move.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was on the same boat as you, man. I mean, I was kind of happy that Staley didn't get the DC, but then a
Yeah.
lot of people were saying like he was good as a defense coordinator back then before he became a head coach. But I don't know. I kind of had a feeling that Kyle was going to go inside uh, the 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 team to hire the new DC.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of up in the air about it. Like I just don't know how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just hard to say. Like I was kind of upset, but then like I'm like maybe there's something in there to where like you know the defense is gonna look a lot better this coming up season than it did last year with Steve Wilkes. And you know Kyle he's ignorant and
Yeah. It's
selfish.
just the ego.
He
The ego
wants
is just wild.
yes, yes. So I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it is what it is at this point. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? We just have to sit here and wait and see how this plays out because I mean, I don't know, man. Like Staley wasn't good offensive wise with the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of trying to figure out how that's going to play out this coming up season with Kyle because somebody said online that it's kind of a assistant head coach role that he got. So
Yeah.
kind of I don't know. I don't know how I feel
Well,
about that.
I look at it like this. Like I think that if you ask Kyle, what he's gonna say is that it was a move to where now Brandon Staley comes in. He's always respected Brandon Staley for the way he disguises coverages and that kind of stuff. And that now Kyle can look at see some of the things that he does in practice and kind of
Mm-hmm.
tailor his offense to and kind of teach Brock the ways around and still making the reads with without him actually having to change anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, but once again, it's a it's Kyle not taking any responsibility for anything. Nothing offensively. We're not changing nothing offensively, and he's probably going to make some changes. I'm not saying that he can't change, but Kyle doesn't like to admit anything having to do with him was wrong. It's always the execution. It's
Yeah.
always it's always we missed the read. It's always we missed the block. Like it's just never, hey, this is an opportunity for me to kind of up my game. Yeah, we made it to the Super Bowl. We didn't get over the top. Like so now I have to get into the lab and I have to figure out a way to get better. You're always having to get better. And he said that in the past. He said that you can't stay stagnant in this league because yeah, like guys are going to figure you out, and if you stay stagnant, like you're going to get dusted. But I just feel like he needs a fresh set of eyes, if you will.
Yeah. I can see that happening too. I think that is another reason why he brought in Brandon Staley for that position. Knowing that he's struggling on getting over that hump. Every time he
Yeah.
makes it to the big one, he struggles to get over that hump, and he blows 10-point leads every time in the big one. So maybe that's another reason why he did bring in Brandon Staley. I don't know. I mean, like but Bash said, Anthony Lynn was supposed to be that guy.
But I mean, I would say, can I speak on that one?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Like
man.
here, look at this. Okay, so Anthony Lynn, and I was in a space this week over the weekend, and I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to a couple of the guys in the spaces, and I mentioned that like because people were acting like Anthony Lynn was somebody, and the reality is this about Anthony Lynn. He was like just like Brandon Staley, terrible head coach,
Mm-hmm.
terrible head coach. As an offensive, he was known as an offensive coordinator, a good offensive coordinator because of his run game. But if people don't forget, before he got to the 49ers, he was in Detroit. And Detroit's run game was terrible. We still hired him anyway. Then on top of that, he got here. In the beginning of the season, the running game was struggling. And they brought until Bobby Turner came back. 1 week later, after Bobby Turner comes back, all of a sudden the running game's not struggling anymore. Anthony Lynn, I felt like was useless. You never heard the players talking about Anthony Lynn. Ever.
That's true.
They talked about Bobby Turner.
Yeah.
The running backs talked about Bobby Turner all the time, but they did not talk about Anthony Lynn. And maybe that wasn't his job to be the running game coordinator or whatever, but that's what he was supposed to be here for. So I don't know. I was never a fan of the Anthony Lynn hire. But he was a terrible head coach, Bash. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna have to see what happens, and especially going into this draft too, within the next month. Let's go ahead and move on to free agency since it's right around the corner. What positions do you think the Niners will fill in free agency, and do they have enough cap space to actually fill the needs?
I think it's going to be the same thing as I don't think it's going to be the same thing as last year. I don't think there's going to be a big splash per se signing that there was last year with Javon Hargrave. I would be shocked. I think I think we saw a lot of the people that are on Twitter saw them talking about not restructuring, but kind of re-signing Mooney Ward and just kind of redoing another deal for him, extending him. That's the word for it. And keeping him in the building for the foreseeable future. That would free up some space, and then maybe getting like one piece, like one solid piece. I don't think it'll be major, but there are a couple of offensive linemen in the free agency market. I think there's going to be some more. I think some other teams are going to release some guys because this draft is so deep in the O-line that I think some teams are going to want to go cheaper. And I think this could be a chance for the 49ers to get somebody for under market value. Yeah. And like they might add one, they might add two. Who knows? What I hope that doesn't do is I hope that doesn't, if they do dip into the free agency market for that, I'm hoping that they don't just give up on drafting a guy or two, because they need some youth. They're getting a little long in the tooth. I think they're one of the older teams in the league now, which is crazy to say, but
I know.
But yeah, they still need to look towards the future.
So, do you think they're going to look for somebody first? Or are they going to re-sign BA first and then continue to look more out there for free agents? But
what do you think?
I think they're going to get BA signed and done and ready to go first before anything else. I think it's going to be set in stone. But then again, the Niners do like to wait until midsummer type thing, like they did with Debo and Nick Bosa. But I know for damn sure Ayuk will get signed this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. I for sure think that they're going to re-sign BA. Now, I would say that history has told us that they're not going to sign him before everything else. Mm-hmm. They have a specific timeline that they like to use, and I would be shocked if they went against that usual normal timeline. I think the fans are still going to get impatient, but it is what it is. They're the 49ers. Like, this is what we do every single season. We wait until training camp.
That's what I'm saying.
So
they did with Debo. They did it with Nick Bosa.
Yeah. Yeah,
Probably getting
no, they'll
Sidney.
get him signed before the season. I thought you
Yeah.
were saying that before the like free agency hits or anything. And
Well,
like
that was my question. Like during I mean, not even before free agency, but during free agency, before they even try to go after anybody else, would you think that they would sign him? During that time, change it up, you know, change it up this time around, instead of how they've been doing it previous years with Debo and Nick Bosa, and
I mean, history tells us that that's not the case, but
yeah,
you just never know. You never know. But like because this team, at least in the draft, has always just we never know what's going to happen.
yeah,
And I mean, even in free agency, we never know what's going to happen.
yeah.
And so they do a great job of keeping all of their info to themselves. And we just never know how it's going to work out, but it always ends up working out. And so I put faith that they're going to get him re-signed. I just think that they have their own timeline. Parag has always done an awesome job of keeping everything in perspective and keeping their cap number to a place where they can manage it. Like now in the past, and I think a lot of it is learning from their own mistakes, because early on they signed some bad deals with who was it? The guy that I think they just stopped paying for him last year. The edge that we got when Kyle and them in 2019, the guy that we got from Kansas City, and I'm completely blanking on his name right now, but he was good that one season, and then he was hurt for the rest of the time.
McKinnon?
No, the edge.
The edge? Oh,
The guy opposite of Bosa.
Fred. Was it Fred Clark?
Wow, I am completely blanking on his name.
Oh, D Ford.
Jeez. Yeah, D Ford. Like, I mean, bad contract. They kept kicking that can down the road, and they were still owing him money up until I believe last year. And then who was the other guy? The center that they brought in from the Giants.
Talk about Mac?
No, before Mac. When they first got there, they brought in a center. Man, I gotta look up. But they brought in the center, and they paid him all this money, and they kept kicking the can down the road. It ended up like they couldn't really do much in free agency.
Richburg?
Richburg.
See, dude, media has all these on block.
Yeah, it was just, they learned from those mistakes, and I feel like since then, Parag has done an awesome job of keeping all of these signings like layered to the point to where like they can adjust every offseason to bring in people whatever they need, and it's still not going to necessarily affect them because most of the people they bring in are like 1-2 year deals, and but while they keep their core guys, and I think they've done an awesome job at that. But to answer your question, I don't think anybody knows. I think that they're probably going to keep the same timeline as they always keep. I do think that he's going to be signed before training camp. But
I agree.
See. We'll see.
Media brought up a good point earlier too. Ian Rappaport also said that he could see it being after free agency. So
he doesn't know.
Yeah,
doesn't know.
I know, but
they all say things, and then when they're wrong, they sit there. Oh well, that's what they were talking about. Those were the discussions, so it is what it is. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as they bring in who they need to bring in.
Yeah. So continuing on the offense side of the ball, what about Juwan Jennings? Do they re-sign Juwan Jennings?
Oh, they're going to re-sign him. I think that if they're smart, I re-up him now, because the second, they could probably pay him what he's going to make off of the second round tender for the first season. So why not just bring him in for 3 years, make it a 3-year deal? And his numbers are his numbers, so he's not breaking the bank.
Yeah.
And nobody's probably would be offering him the bank. I don't think, but I think that the 49ers are a fit for him. I don't necessarily think he's a fit everywhere. And
I agree.
Of course, there will be some team that's willing to offer him more money, but are you willing to go to a loser like to get a few mil? Like, and I mean, I know that sounds crazy to most, like, oh yeah, I would go for a couple of extra mil, but I think some of these guys like the culture of the 49ers. They like who they play with. I know that sounds crazy to give up millions of dollars to play with guys you like, but there's something to be said for continuity, not uprooting your family and feeling like you're working at home. So yeah, I think they do a multi-year deal on him. I don't think that they're gonna just settle for the tender.
Okay. So what do you think? Like maybe like a 3-year type of deal?
Yeah, I think 3-year. Maybe it might end up being 2. I think it might end up being 2 just because of who he is.
Yeah. I mean, and he stepped up big too, this past season as well for them. So
he would have been if the 49ers win the Super Bowl, he's the MVP.
I 100% agree.
He's the MVP. 100%. Like, I mean, there was nobody that played better than him.
Yeah, he went off. And like the little trickery plays that you saw from him, because he was a quarterback back in the day, so I can see why they ran that play with Juwan.
If anything was off on that play, if any like a second off, I mean, he gets blown up like it's probably an interception.
Yeah,
I mean, it could not have gone any differently than the way it did.
Yeah, that was crazy. My heart dropped when I saw that happen too. I'm not even gonna lie. I want to get your take on this. So we've been talking about receivers and the offense, but who do you want the Niners to sign in free agency? Is there anybody out there that stands out to you right now?
I mean, I like big up to Brad Graham, but I trust Brad like on a lot of the offensive line stuff, on all the offensive line stuff. And so I pay attention when he talks about a guy. And I was looking at, what was his name? Ekwonu for the Patriots. He's coming away from the Patriots. And I don't see him on here now. But Patriots, New England. Well, they have Trent Brown, and did they resign? Did they resign Ekwonu? Because I thought that he was going to be a free agent.
I don't know. Let me see. Hold on. Here's another one that's kind of out there right now. Lincoln Tomlinson is out there.
Lincoln Tomlinson. So I said I wouldn't mind bringing him in and just kicking the tires and see what, like, at the very least, you could bring him in and he could be a depth piece. And get rid of some of these also rans that have just been lingering. They're just bad players, and they've been lingering on this roster for years. The Jalen. Jalen, what's his last name? Jalen. Golly, I am just terrible today, just blanking on guys' names.
It's okay, bro.
There we go. I'm gonna bring up the roster so that doesn't happen anymore. His last name.
Mike Ekwonu, the guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a guy that they might want to look into replacing Burford, because I mean, this is the thing. Burford's going into his third season, and I mean, I think it's safe to say that they're probably not going to re-sign him at this point. I would be eventually, I mean, they've got 2 more years. They're probably going to let him walk unless they can find somebody to replace, because they could release him and it'd not be a problem. But I still think they would keep him for depth. But the is his Jalen Moore.
Jalen Moore.
Yeah, like Jalen Moore's a guy that I would get rid of. Like, I mean, Matt Pryor.
What do you think?
I mean,
what do you think about bringing back Feliciano?
I don't like it.
No?
I will be honest with you. I don't like the fact that he can't, and maybe I'm being emotional about it. That's fine. But I think that the culture in your building is very delicate. The locker room is a very delicate thing. And what you cannot have is a guy popping off about another player publicly on social media and then just bring him back like, oh, it's okay. Like remember when Draymond knocked out old dude? And everybody tried to say, oh, it's not a big deal at the time. Oh, this happens in locker rooms and all this stuff. And I said at the time, I was like, they are not winning anything this year. That is not going to happen. And it just imploded upon itself. Because you cannot have that going on in the locker room. You cannot have guys knocking guys out in the locker room. And likewise, you cannot have guys talking about each other publicly in the in the off season, especially right after the Super Bowl. You're already hurting from the loss. You cannot have one of the guys going rogue and just saying what he wants to say. I don't care if he's drunk or not. And then he goes on and says he was drunk. I mean, I just don't see how you bring him back. Personally, how do you feel about it?
I see where you're coming from, but I feel like I kind of want them to bring him back just because he did decent, on the field for us, and I think like
if it was Madden, I'd bring him back.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I see where you're coming from, and trust me, as a Warrior
one of them got to go.
Yeah,
one of them got to go. So
I think it's gonna be Burford. To be honest,
I don't know.
But speaking of which, we also need to work on that right side of that O-line, man.
Oh, that's why I couldn't see it.
Do you think is there any tackles or guards right now that in free agency besides Lakin Thompson and a couple of the other guys that you would rather pick instead of getting one in the draft?
I mean, not really.
No?
There was a guy. There was a guy Trent Brown is a big no for me. I know some people were talking about Trent Brown. Tyron Smith is a big no for me. He's too old and he's always injured. Connor Williams is a big no for me. Anybody else? Jonah Williams, maybe. I could see it. Not that he's good. I don't necessarily think he's great, but but I think he's serviceable. And that might be somebody that they're able to bring in. What is his market value? He's expected to get 10, almost 11 mil.
Okay.
So I don't think that they're gonna pay somebody 11 mil.
No, I don't think so.
He's
either.
He's 26. So,
okay.
I mean, what was Jonah Williams' PFF score? Because I'll be honest, I didn't watch a whole lot of Bengals.
Same. I mean, I watched some of the Steelers games because my brother-in-law's a Steeler fan, but that's really it.
Yeah. So, yeah, he had a 58.5 PFF grade. And you're going to give that guy 11 mil a year?
No.
No, I'm not going to do that. I think he's just getting that because he's a tackle, and he's athletic and he's big.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would say no to that, and I just don't think that there's anything out there at tackle that they should go out there and break the bank or pay like a veteran's salary for when there's so many tackles in this draft. Now the question for me is when they get to the draft, do you wait till 31 or do you trade up?
I wonder. That's what I'm wondering. Do they trade up?
Because the guy that you're going to get at 31 is not going to be the top tier. Like he's going to be the one that all the teams didn't necessarily. He's the bottom of the top tier, and and he's probably going to be a developmental guy. So and that's exactly not what the 49ers need.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be a tackle that's probably a guard.
Okay.
And because what I see mocked to them right now is what's his name? Jordan. I see Jordan, what's his name? Mocked to them a lot. And the guy out of Arizona. And his arms are too short. He's going to be a guard. He's going to be a guard. I know that sounds silly to everybody at home. Oh, what do you mean his arms are too short? They're like an inch too short. But their teams are not going to put him at tackle. They're just not. There is no good luck finding a tackle in this league that has less than 34-inch arms. Good luck. There isn't one. So it doesn't matter if it's only 33 and a half. He's a guard now. And
So Terradome says he thinks that the Niners should move up to 17 and get JC Latham, right tackle from Alabama.
What do you got to trade to get from 31 to 17?
That's what I'm saying.
Terradome,
you might have to give up a lot.
Put it in the chat, Terradome. I want to know what you plan on giving up to get from 31 to 17. Because that's a lot.
It has to be a lot.
That's this first and probably next year's.
Yeah.
So he said, give up the first and the second.
Give up. Okay.
I don't know if they're going to be willing to give up the first and the second. I think that they could probably move up to that 25, 24 spot, with and only have to give up one of their thirds to get there. But I don't think that they're going to be willing to give up their second. And I could be wrong. They've done crazier things in the past. But I think this is a season that they're going to be excited about having picks in the top of the draft, and I think that they're going to want to bring in some guys that are because I think that they plan on trading up from their second round pick too.
I think they do too.
Because the guys at their second round spot, I think that it is entirely possible that they get a tackle in the first, and they end up getting the guard of the future in the first, or if they don't get the guard, they get another pass rusher.
I want the tackle from Notre Dame when we did our draft.
Oh, you want that guy? Well, he's going to be in the second round. They could probably get him in the second round.
I think we could get him.
Yeah, they can get him in the second round.
Yeah.
I think he's a second round player. I would love for them to just move up to 25 and go get Tyler Guyton. That's my personal opinion on it. I really like Tyler Guyton. You could convince me. There's a couple of other guys that you could probably convince me. Like if Graham Barton is sitting there, I could be convinced to take a guard in the first. If Graham Barton was sitting there at 31. But for the most part, I don't want a guard in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just have a strong feeling that they're going defensive end first round.
Oh, first?
Yeah,
So Darius Robinson? Because
possibly.
I feel like that's who's sitting there. Or because I know people like Kool-Aid McKinstry, and
Mm-hmm.
they want him to, they're thinking about the 49ers might go corner. I can't see the 49ers going corner in the first round. They just don't
Me neither.
prioritize corners like that.
Me neither. Yeah, I agree. Um, Speaking of corner, I don't know. Do you ever watch 49ers chat sports at all on
No.
YouTube? No.
On YouTube?
So, yeah,
No.
on YouTube. Okay. So it's a channel that I kind of been following, maybe for the past like 2 years now. They kind of mentioned in their last podcast that they did. There's rumors about Patrick Surtain. Um, I think getting possibly getting traded to the Niners,
There's
or
a
I
lot of,
think is he on his is he on his last year of his rookie contract?
I want to say he is. But last
Is
I
either
heard that they
that
were
or
talking about re-upping him. Like,
okay,
but there, Jalen Johnson was also rumored to the 49ers as well from the Bears.
okay, yeah.
And
It's gonna
yeah,
be
I mean, I don't see them using big bucks like that on the
me
secondary. I
neither.
think they got their one guy, and the 49ers just don't prioritize their secondary like that. Like, I mean, they have pretty clear, um, like ways that they do things, and they just, I was shocked when they got I wasn't shocked by them paying Mooney Ward a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't
Like,
either.
I wasn't shocked by it, like, because he wasn't the top guy. He was like, people were shocked that they got him because he wasn't the top guy. But then a lot of people had to convince themselves that that was a really good signing because they kind of got him on a bargain. But he wasn't known as a good zone corner, which he's really not a good zone corner. He's really good in man. Like, but yeah, like he's so yeah, that was kind of on brand for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this going out there and getting a top guy is that's kind of off brand for them.
Yeah, I mean,
I would
I don't
love
know.
to see it. I would love to see
Yeah,
it.
it'd be cool. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because when I saw that, because they went live yesterday and I saw it, like it was literally on their title, and I was like, "What?" I'm like, "This is the first I'm hearing about this," so I figured I'd bring it up to you and see what you thought about it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Like, I wonder. I'm trying to make this trade right now, Terradome. Because I want to see if they can get how high they can get for. I want to see if they can get up to 23 with the first and the third.
Yeah. Well, while you do that, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you the next. We'll talk about the next subject.
For sure.
Um. 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 So, is there any bench players that could take a bigger role this season that is on the team right now?
For offense, defense,
Um,
offense.
let's go offense first, and then we can talk about defense.
Okay, offense. I mean, we're hoping that one of the wide receivers steps up because I don't think that Ray McLeod is going to be back.
I don't think so
So
either.
so I think that I mean, and I honestly I want to say that Danny Gray is going to get cut too.
Really? Because I was just going to bring him up. I was like, you think Danny Gray's going to take that position?
Man, like, look, I just don't feel like, and he looked good in camp. Is what was funny is he looked good in camp, like, but it was just like I just don't think he blocks well enough. I got to believe that that's what it is, because he looked good running routes. But he's one of those guys that I just don't think he's in their plans.
Okay.
And but I do think that
What about
Ronnie Bell,
Ronnie
I
Bell?
think he's the one that makes it out of there, and he has to take that Ray McLeod role. And whoever they draft, sign in the offseason, I think they're going to probably bring in a vet. I'd like to see Conley come back.
Me too.
I'd like to see Conley come back and let's see if there's more meat on that bone. Pause.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but how about you? Like, who are your? Oh, and
Well,
Latu's got to do something.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do something, then they got to cut him too. And not well, actually, I don't even think they can cut it. Like, so it would be too big of a hit. I want to say.
You think so?
Well, no, he was third round. So like,
we still have Dwelly. Do you think Dwelly comes back?
Because they had no problem cutting Trey Sermon. So like, so yeah, like I think if Latu doesn't show out, they're gonna cut him.
Also,
but Willis
also too. Yeah, Willis. Also too, we don't have TDP no more either. So I say maybe we'll see Jordan Mason.
Oh, Elijah Mitchell. Too. Elijah Mitchell is he a free agent this season?
I think it's next season.
Next season. So they got him for one more year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if even like going into next year too, I don't think we bring back Elijah Mitchell.
I'm wondering if Jordan Mason wants to even come back.
Yeah, I think he needs more playing time, man.
Man, it's ridiculous to me. I don't understand. I know people are going to make excuses and say that he has a problem with blocking assignments, and that he does the offense, he kind of has brain farts sometimes. I get it, but the man averages 5.5 yards a carry for his career.
And yeah, the way you get better at reading those guys is you get the touches, you get the reps.
Yeah, you got to play. I mean, and this is the other part of it. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but the NFL is talking about going to 18 games now. 18 games.
I heard about that.
Like, we have got to get CMC some rest. Like, the answer is not less rushing attempts. Like, the 49ers dialed back their rushing attempts quite a bit this season, I feel. And there was and especially in the games that they lost, the running backs only ran the ball an average of like 16, 17 times.
Yeah.
Like when we used to be like a 30 rush a game team. And so Kyle has got to involve these other running backs, because magic happens when he does it. Every single time that he brings, that Elijah Mitchell gets some touches, Jordan Mason gets some touches, they do well. They make good, they have good rushes, fresh legs. Mm-hmm. So and what does that do for CMC? It keeps him fresh. We don't care about him getting all the FedEx Ground Player of the Year if he doesn't make it to the end of the season.
Yeah. And we got very, very, very lucky this past season with CMC being healthy all year.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
So they've got to figure out a way to not tempt fate, because Kyle has that propensity to just ride people until the wheels fall off. And that's not the way to keep your guy healthy.
Correct. I totally agree.
So I could see, I know they're going to bring in some guys, like some probably undrafted free agent guys. They're probably going to get, who knows? We might see, what's his name again? Because they brought him in last season. What was that? What was that guy that we had in like 2019? Man, I am just blanking on these guys' names.
Dude, honestly, I'm blinking to you right now.
The running backs that we have, because we had, who did we have? 2019.
We had Maserati. We had Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman. Like, who knows if Tevin Coleman makes an appearance? Like, just as like on the veteran practice squad or whatever the case is that they do that now. But yeah, I really want to see those tight ends. Somebody has to step up at those tight ends. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the 49ers were interviewing a whole bunch of tight ends at the combine.
Yeah, me neither. But they're also looking at receivers too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that necessarily means that they're going to take one in the first round. I think they're just doing their due diligence in case one of those guys falls to them somehow. Because every single season we're sitting there. Oh, how did that guy fall all the way down to there? It's always a possibility. So I think that was just them doing their due diligence. If somebody just falls to them, then they'd be willing to take him. Especially in the second round pick.
Yeah,
I don't think so much in the first round. I think they're going to trade up in the first round.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. So let's flip it around and we'll go to defense now. What are your wants and needs, and who do you think they'll sign in free agency if it happens? Go ahead.
Who they'll pick in free agency?
Yeah.
So I think that it's going to be. I do think that they are going to get. Oh shoot! I came off of my page. I do think that they're going to bring in at least one vet lineman, because I do think I'm hoping that Feliciano doesn't make it back on the squad. I'm just really am. I know people are going to kill me for that. I don't really care. I just think that you can't mess with the team chemistry like that. I do think that Laken Tomlinson finds a way onto this roster, and at the very least in camp, and just as a camp body. I would love to see a Wanu on this squad, and that's my guy. I'm going to speak it into existence. Because if they could get that guy, then Feliciano's not necessary.
Okay.
You get to keep Burford as a backup, and then all you have to worry about is tackle and depth in the draft.
Yeah,
and maybe center. There's a guy, Tanner Bortolini. Watch out for that name. Listen out for that name. He's a guy that's I'm pretty sure he is. but that's a guy that's being mocked in the later rounds right now, like 5th, 6th round. That I think could be. He is a Brendel type, in my opinion, and not only is a Brendel type, he's very athletic. I think he has high energy. I think that that's a guy that they could bring in. And just as depth purposes, I think that he could play a little bit of guard as well. That's a guy to keep an eye out for in the draft. But as far as free agency goes, Owanu is my guy. That's who I'm kind of laser focused in on. The only other spot that I could see them taking is maybe in, you know what? Defensive line. Another guy that is going to be available this offseason is a guy that used to be another former 49er on defense. I'm just going to give you a guess.
Okay.
He was a defensive tackle for us.
Is it Willis?
No.
Dude, honestly, I'm bad with names right now too.
49er fans used to love this guy, and I love this guy. DJ Jones is now a free agent.
Yeah, DJ Jones. That was gonna be my next guess, but
we have been searching for the last 2 seasons for a DJ Jones.
I don't know why we just didn't freaking.
Well, because he was too expensive, but he got released. Yeah. He got released. He was a cap casualty, and now he's not going to be as expensive as he was. So I think that definitely could be a target for the 49ers. Not just because he used to be a 49er. He's just a good player. He's just a really good player. He was good on the Denver Broncos. It's just that they're rebuilding. So like they don't. He's a cherry on top type of player, and he's not a guy that you build around. So like I feel like that is a guy to bring in for sure. And then if you look at what's the other spot? I think that they're going to probably go with another second year guys that we've got to look out for is Jalen Graham and D Winters because Greenlaw is going to be he's probably not they said he could be ready week 1, but I think that they're going to prepare like he won't be. So D Winter and Jalen Graham, I think we're going to hear a lot about in camp, OTAs, all that stuff. We're going to be hearing about them all off season. So keep an eye on those guys.
I agree.
There is a couple. But I do think that they're going to bring in a veteran corner.
I can see that happening. I can see that happening for sure.
And Kendall Fuller. That is the guy that I'm looking at. Kendall Fuller is 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was making 10 mil last year.
Okay.
Like they're saying that his average salary is going to be 13.6. I don't think that he's going to come in that high. He's 29 years old. Like he's not a world beater in my opinion. Like he's a serviceable corner. I would not plan on him making that. Like especially with as many corners that are on the market.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that I'm looking at. You've got.
I was going to ask you, Pete. Isn't E-Man a free agent too this year?
They re-signed him.
Damn.
Detroit. Yeah, Detroit re-signed him today. Yeah, they re-signed him today.
Because and then Gibson's gone, so we're gonna need a little bit of help in the inside as well. I feel like.
I think that they're gonna bring in another vet, like for the safety spot, just to back up, as a backup. But there's quite a few vet corners out on the market this offseason.
Okay.
You got J.C. Jackson, Adoree Jackson, Darius Williams from Jacksonville.
How would you feel about J.C. Jackson being on the team?
He was getting cooked. Now
he was also with the Chargers.
Yeah,
he was also with the Patriots too, right?
Yeah, but they played. I mean, I think he's more of a man corner. I don't think he's a zone guy.
Okay.
In my opinion, like you also got. I mean, Stephon Gilmore was still playing well. He's 33 years old though, but I could see them bringing him in, like on a 1 year. And just somebody that they wouldn't have to pay a ton. Jeff Okudah's out there. Kenny Moore. That's an interesting one. Kenny Moore from Indy.
How about the one? I mean, it doesn't matter now because they franchise tagged him today, but that was going to be looking like an option from the Chiefs.
L'Jarius Sneed?
Yeah.
That he would have cost too much. He's young.
He probably would have been more
He's
money.
Young, and he has had two good seasons in a row. Like, and I mean, he's just coming off a Super Bowl win. He's gonna want to get paid, and that was why all the initial everything as soon as the season ended, like all this stuff was coming out, like about him wanting this and that and the third. Like that's not the type of guy the 49ers usually go after anyway.
That's true. So, all right, so we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna end it with this. My last and final question. We could talk about it because it just happened. Was it yesterday? We got KJ Wright as our new defense.
Woo!
What was he was hired for again?
He's an assistant linebackers
Linebacker coach.
And also quality control.
How'd you feel about that after the news broke about that?
Oh, I loved it. I was all stoked about it because I think those are the types of guys that those are the types of guys the 49ers bring in. Sorensen, former player.
Yep.
Sorensen, former player. D'Amico, former player.
Yep.
And
he was from the Legion of Boom.
KJ Wright was elite. He was an elite linebacker. He was
amazing.
And he was a leader. And he was a leader on that defense. So I loved it. I loved his little video that he did to introduce himself and all that stuff. I think it's a great hire. I could totally see him working his way up through the ranks. I like that they brought him in at that level because just that's what Shanny does. He starts you off at the bottom. You got to start off at the bottom and you work your way up. There is nothing given.
Exactly.
So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, same here. I was actually really excited about it. And when I posted the video of him saying that, he was the new assistant defensive coach and everything on TikTok, I got a lot of replies about basically a lot of Niner fans very happy about it. So
we love our enemies for some reason. I don't know what that's about.
Especially because and then he
any
was
Seahawk that we signed, everybody's like, yeah,
sure, KJ Wright, right?
Yeah,
I'm excited to see that happen as well, especially going to this coming up season. But I think that's gonna do it for us. Any last thoughts, Pete, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I know that what I said about Brandon Staley early on, I still think that it's going to work. I still think the 49ers are an elite roster. They do have holes to fill, do they? But they have such a good ground floor to work with that even if they don't get everything that they want, they're still going to be a great team. And I think that but I do think that the 49ers, I do get a good vibe from the way this coaching staff is rounding out with bringing in Sorensen for the DC. I do kind of like the whole Staley coming in and helping with disguising the looks and all that kind of stuff. I do like that. And then I do like the hire of KJ Wright. I think that is a really kind of under the radar. It's not under the radar for us on Twitter, but I think that is going to be an under the radar signing for the future.
Yeah.
And I have good vibe. I have good vibes that everybody talks about the Super Bowl hangovers, and especially for the losing team. I don't see that happening this year. I get a really good vibe. I'm getting a really good vibe off this squad. I think that they are going to come out guns blazing. And the only thing holding us back is health. And and knock on wood, I think that Kyle has learned from his past mistakes as far as that goes, and he's not going to run anybody really into the ground. So, yeah, that's just good vibes going into this offseason.
Yes, sir. And
how about you?
Nothing really. Just I'm over the whole Super Bowl loss now. I'm focused on the next season. I think this time around, like you said, Pete, I think we could bounce back and actually get back there this coming up season compared to how it was in 2019 because we literally lost everybody the next season to injury. So I think this is going to be a way better time to regroup, focus, and get to that promised land again, and this time win it all.
Yeah, one question before we get out of here.
Yeah,
one question because you asked the majority of the question. So I got one question. What does Kyle need to change going into this season?
To not be so. Well, first off, he needs to stop being.
Or a better way to word it is to how can Kyle improve?
Kyle just needs to let them play. Stop being so conservative. That's the word I was looking for. He's very conservative, especially when it comes to the big games.
Yeah.
He needs to. I feel like he just needs to. He needs to manage better, especially when he has a lead by 10 plus points or more. Because you notice that in the Super Bowl he gave up a 10-point lead again in the Super Bowl. So that seems to be an issue for him to where he gives up the big leads. So he needs to stop that, and he needs to just basically play the game from start to finish the same. Like don't change it to when you're up big. Don't be conservative. Just keep playing the same game. Don't go away from the run. Right? He went away from the run when it was working in the Super Bowl. He did that back in 2019 Super Bowl too.
Yeah.
So it's continuous mistakes like that that cost us the game. And that's why he hasn't won a damn Super Bowl yet. So if he could do that and just let them play the game out there and continue to game plan like the run or whatever is working during that day or that they're playing out there throughout all 4 quarters, then we should be okay. But once you go away from something that works, you could tell that shit happens like just like it did in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's what we need to do. Kyle needs to do that. Kyle needs to like get his head out of his ass respectfully and just call a better game, man. Honestly, I think that's just the main point. Like in the big games, especially during the playoffs, and Super Bowl, call a better game and don't go away from what is working.
And I would add on to that and just say and recognize the fact that you have the best team on the field. There is never a time, there is never no team that they played where they did not have the best team on the field.
Like you know none. What's crazy, dude? You know what's crazy is the fact that people think that Chiefs were the better team. No, we didn't lose that game. We gave that game away.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say, but it's the honest truth.
Which is why there's a lot of people out there that are saying it wasn't Kyle's fault. It's not Kyle's fault. It's because if Moody hits the extra point, if they don't muff the if the punt go like doesn't get muffed or what, I don't know how you want to call that because it's not really a muff. It was just dumb luck. And then then if CMC doesn't fumble, like I mean,
that's the reason why he went away from the run game too after that fumble.
Like I mean, but that's the thing is you can't do that.
No,
you can't do that. You've got the best player in the league, and it's not even that you've got the best players in the league. So where I feel Kyle can get better is that I think Kyle needs to recognize the fact that he's got the best player, he's got the best roster in the league on offense, and that he's got the best weapons in the league on offense. There should never, ever, ever, ever be a time when teams can key in on one player.
Yeah.
Like never. That should never happen because we've got Kittle, we've got Debo, we've got Ayuk, we've got CMC, we've got, and I mean, if you want to go down the line, Jawan Jennings is a gamer. Like you've got too much talent on this roster for you to key on one guy. They should not know where you're going to go next, in my opinion. And I'm not a genius. I'm not a football. I'm not the NFL coach. I'm not any of that. That's just my personal opinion just by watching the game for the last 40 plus years. Like is that Whenever I've seen a team that has this much talent on it, they never keyed on one person. And Kyle tends to key on one person.
Yeah, and you wonder why Debo barely had anything during the Super Bowl. You wonder why Brandon Ayuk only had 3 catches for 33 yards. You wonder why George
Kittle only got one.
Kittle had only one. Exactly my point.
Juwan
Jennings was literally the only ones that were the only Jennings and CMC were really the ones that were really having most of the yardage out there. And
for God's sake, get a quick game. Like come up with a quick game. That these playing for field goal stuff is ridiculous. Like other teams can go right down the field when they have better quarterbacks. I think Brock is capable of that. You just got to come up with a better drop back game, better quick game. Like I said, our drop back game is terrible.
Yeah.
Our drop back game is terrible.
I feel like he doesn't trust his players either.
For sure. But I just want this to be said as well. I love Kyle to death. That's why I'm giving him this tough love. I want him to be better. I want him to be better. I want him to be here. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I don't want him to go anywhere. I think that he is the best option, and I just want him to get over that hump, because I feel like once he gets over that hump and it clicks, it's going to be just like the Chiefs, like with Andy Reid. It's going to be the same exact thing. I think once he gets over that hump and he figures it out, it's a wrap for the league. And like there's not going to be any coming back.
Agreed.
So, but
we'll definitely have to wait and see. But we are going to wrap things up now. Those of you in the chat, we really appreciate you guys tuning in and enjoying the show with us.
Appreciate y'all.
Getting ready for this new season coming up. Free agency starts next week, I believe. So that's going to be exciting to see what happens. Pete, you want to let them know where they can find you and give you a follow?
Yeah, for sure. Like you can find me. The name is on the screen. Peter Lucas 8 on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I'm on anywhere where you can get your audio podcast. If you don't like looking at my face, you can always get the audio. So I don't care where you get it, just get it. But just make sure, hey, tell a friend to tell a friend so we can be friends every day, every week. And yeah, Niner Fanatic Podcast, anywhere where you can find me. I'm on Instagram too. So like, just go look for Niner Fanatic. If you Google Niner Fanatic Podcast, it pops up. I promise you. And just go find me on there. I'm going to have probably another show on Thursday.
Okay.
So I'll have another show on that day. I'll probably be talking more draft stuff. We're probably going to do a mock draft. So tune in for that. But appreciate you having me on, brother. I always, we normally do our show on Tuesdays with Beto. Like, but I mean, yeah, had fun. And like, we missed the big guy, but like, I'm sure he'll be around next Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Yes. So Beto wasn't with us tonight. He had some stuff to take care of at home. So that's why you just see me and Pete. But next week, all three of us will be back on the Boys podcast.
The Boys.
For me, the name's on the screen. Personal one is BDubs49. Podcast one is Forever Faithful Podcast. Be sure you hit that follow button on Twitter or X. Instagram, which we're live on Instagram right now, so hit that follow button for all your updates. Facebook as well, and then we're also on TikTok, and then we also do audio podcasts as well for Faithful Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, whatever. We're there. So on your way to work, you can listen to us if you want. But real quick, I know this is football, but I also want to throw out there that I am starting my Warriors basketball podcast again. So be sure to look out for that. It's called Dubs Podcast Network on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and TikTok. So be sure to follow on that page as well for all your Warrior updates. And until next time, guys, go Niners. Peace.
Go Niners.
Next Tuesday.